Welcome to another OUinsider.com podcast. I am joined by OUI staff writer Colin Kennedy. We're going to get into the 22 ranking class, 2022 rankings. You know, stuff that came out yesterday. Oh, man, I'm off to a roaring start here, Colin. Maybe I'm just going stir crazy because I felt like we had this right when we were having our little production meeting going into this, and then I fumbled the ball.
Hey, it's all right. I mean, we're all kind of rusty right now. Exactly how that quarantine is going to pay off for us. So we'll see how this thing goes. I'm excited.
Right on, man. Okay, so let's get into the top of the rankings right quick because there are a number of OU targets that were ranked really highly, and we all thought that they would be. Folks like Gentry Williams, Raleek Brown. But then for me, seeing Quinn Ewers at number 2 was kind of stark. And then Maurice Horn, who's a Broken Arrow product, who's just down the street from me, is ranked inside the 150. So let's start with Quinn Ewers. What's your takeaway from his ranking, and what have you seen from him so far?
Well, I think the big thing to consider here is that it was a ranking that was certainly expected. I thought a lot of people in the area or whoever covers Texas high school football like myself was kind of seeing the writing on the wall. I mean, Quinn Ewers has essentially transformed into one of the best quarterbacks, not only in the state of Texas, but in the nation. And a lot of people feel like he's on the same level as some legendary profiles that have come out of the state in the years past. I know some people are pretty startled that he's up there at number 2 in the nation as an overall prospect, because then you're starting to talk about this guy on the same level as like a Vince Young or what have you when you go down the long list of legendary Texas high school football quarterbacks. Thing is, we talk about what have I seen from him. He's got the play to back it up. I mean, this dude at 6'3", 195, 200 pounds, he looks every bit of a D1 starting quarterback, but then you see him throw the ball. And you're thinking to yourself, man, this guy in any sort of offensive system can just get the job done, let alone in Lincoln Riley's. But I'm sure we'll get to that here in a second. My big thing, too, is he's got an underrated amount of athleticism, especially with his frame. I think he just has all the pieces. And you know how they say there's a 5-tool baseball players? This guy has every tool that you want at the quarterback position. And so taking that into consideration, I certainly understood why the rankings committee put him in number 2. I felt like it was the right move because this dude, I really firmly believe, is one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, regardless of classification.
So I'm going to just read his measurables for the folks that are new because I understand some folks have a hard time keeping up recruiting and don't just inhale it like myself and Colin and Brandon at OUI. But Quinn Ewers, E-W-E-R-S, is pro-style quarterback, 6'3", 195 pounds, out of Southlake Carroll High School, which you'll know the Dragons have a proud quarterback tradition. I want to say going all the way back past Chase Daniel at Southlake Carroll. I got that right, Colin?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they got a lot of guys that come out of there that have some pretty high-profile individual recognitions for themselves. So they're pretty good.
So his crystal balls right now show 67% to Oklahoma, which is good, 33% to Texas. He fits what scheme Oklahoma tries to run in that it's a pro raid. He can move, but that's not his calling card. His calling card is accuracy and being able to throw the ball down the field. Obviously, as the number 2 overall kiddo in the 2022 class, he's also the number 1 quarterback in the class and number 1 player in the state of Texas. Right now, we're looking at Alabama hot on the trail, Ryan Day at Ohio State, of course Lincoln Riley, Mike Yursich at Texas, and interestingly for me, Chad Morris at Auburn. I think we all give Oklahoma an edge, but I know Steve Wiltfong had a really good piece, I want to say earlier this week, referencing what Quinn Ewers was thinking and how Oklahoma seems loaded up to get perhaps the number 1 quarterback in the 2021 class and the 2022 class, 2021 being Caleb Williams. My question, Colin, and this is one that I think is nebulous at this point, is because he hasn't done it, but if Caleb Williams were to commit to Oklahoma, would that scare off Quinn Ewers? Because traditionally, across the board, 5-star quarterbacks don't usually want to follow 5-star quarterbacks in back-to-back classes.
Yeah, I think the big thing that we have to admit to ourselves, it would certainly have some sort of impact, right? I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that quarterbacks of that high of a profile are very comfortable with sitting, especially when you're someone like Quinn Ewers, who started on varsity as like a sophomore, and next thing you know, he's leading one of the state's most proud programs to the Texas high school football playoffs. I mean, I have to believe that if Caleb Williams were to commit to Oklahoma and eventually sign the dotted line, that's going to shape this thing moving forward, especially when, like you mentioned, there's so many other really, really good college football programs coming after him. I think that's all going to sort its way out. I think he has a great mentor in Riley Dodge, his head coach, because Riley understands this thing. He's been through not only high school stardom, but the college works and how recruiting is such a mess. And so with that in consideration, I think Quinn has a lot of things to think about over the coming days because, I mean, he's not only going to face this at Oklahoma. I mean, Texas, Alabama, go on down the line. Everyone's got their dude in 2021. That's just how quarterback recruiting is. And so I still kind of at the end of the day think that if Caleb Williams were to commit to Oklahoma, that Quinn would certainly maybe back off a bit. But I also feel like playing in this system and having that redshirt opportunity is certainly something worth considering. And so I feel like Quinn and Oklahoma would still be in good standing if Caleb Williams were to commit today. And I wanted to throw this in here while we're talking about the two. Everyone's kind of talking about how Caleb Williams, number one quarterback in 2021, what's his comparison, right? And everyone, especially OU fans, thinks, okay, this guy may be Kyler Murray when you combine the arm talent, the athleticism, what have you. We've kind of profiled Quinn so far in this podcast today, RJ, and I kind of want your take on this. I see what Caleb Williams is to Kyler Murray. I kind of see some similarities to Quinn Ewers and another Texas high school football quarterback in Baker Mayfield. Now, I understand the frames are a lot different, but when we're talking about pure arm talent and underrated mobility, I think Quinn's got a chance to be real special because he plays a little bit of moxie. He has a real good amount of confidence. He's much quieter than Baker is. But then when he puts it all together, combined with his natural athleticism and arm talent, this guy's got a real bright future. And that's why at the end of the day, you bet on yourself. And I think that Oklahoma would get the benefit of the doubt in that situation.
I don't think that that's a bad comparison. I would add there that Baker was a late bloomer like you read about. He was short. He was pudgy. He didn't get invited to Elite 11 camps. He was also very pissed about that. I mean, Trent Dilfer's got some awesome stories about how Baker Mayfield has treated him since, and I enjoy every last one of those. But he was a winner, and that's what Riley looked for most in his quarterbacks. And one of the reasons that he tried to get him to East Carolina before he decided to come to Oklahoma, and we saw how that worked out. But even at Texas Tech, he just didn't take a back seat to Davis Webb or Michael Brewer. He always thought that he should be the guy. For me, what if Sam Bradford was a little bit more fluid? He's 6'3" to Bradford being 6'4". I get that. And I think he's going to fill out in his frame. But you talk about accuracy. You talk about his temperament, which I think is really what we should be talking about when we talk about quarterbacks more than their physical attributes. What is their temperament, right? Patrick Mahomes, for instance, is a fun-loving dude who also just likes to let it sling. He's liable to try to throw the no-look pass. He's liable to just try different things to get the ball down the field, but he's also got a cannon for an arm. And I think that's one of the reasons why I put Spencer Rattler in that category. I think he's going to throw a bunch of interceptions. But what's a bunch, right? Is a bunch 14? Is a bunch 12? Is a bunch 19, right? And in his first year, we'll see what that looks like. But he's also going to throw 40 touchdowns, right? He's just going to let it go. He's going to air it out, and he's going to have a lot of fun. Bradford was a much more cerebral guy. Didn't have a whole lot to say, but was also steely, was icy, was competitive, was an outstanding athlete, whether it be golf or high school basketball. The thinking was he could have played quarterback and on the men's basketball team at Oklahoma. He just didn't have that temperament of being the kind of guy that just wants to bark at everyone in the way that a guy like Mayfield does. And I haven't interviewed Ewers like you have, so you would be able to tell me if I'm off base here, but it feels like he's just a quiet assassin. He knows he's good. He doesn't need to tell you he's good. And he's also very fluid in how he goes about running the offense and how he goes about moving. And I'm a big fan of how guys move on a football field. If it looks technical, I'm a little bit put off by that because that's a lot of coaching. And I get it. There's a lot to be said about being technically sound. But watching a guy that has a little backyard flair to him to go along with a quick release, tremendous arm talent, and an ability to make something happen outside the pocket. Not run away from people by any means, but also he ain't a statue like, say, a Landry Jones. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I think a more mobile Sam Bradford is maybe the perfect comparison when you're looking at what Quinn Ewers could bring to the table. And obviously, we're really looking at OU quarterbacks just trying to liken the fan base to what this guy may provide down the line. And I think that's exactly what you can expect. I think what I love about Quinn, especially when he was such a young guy executing a very intricate offense in Riley Dodge and Southlake Carroll Dragons, he just made it look easy. Like, it was buttery smooth whenever this youngster was on the field. And that's not something that you often see, especially when someone at his age is going against some of the best talent in Texas high school football, like a Duncanville or what have you. I mean, this guy just found a way to execute the offense and never blink an eye. And so at the end of the day, I think that's why I really like the Bradford comparison. He knows how to get the job done and make it look simple. And at the end of the day, if you have that at the quarterback position, you are in great hands no matter who you're facing.
No, it's 100% correct. And you mentioned Duncanville. You want to talk about a polar opposite to Quinn Ewers. Try Jaquindon Jackson, who's all athlete and cannon back there, man. Just big dude who is going to get it done any way he needs to get it done. If that means carrying the ball like a loaf of bread, he's going to do that. I enjoy that. That matchup in my head just feels like a lot of fun. And we could see it, right? Like if Ewers were decided to go to Oklahoma and Jackson ascended to the top of the quarterback depth chart, who knows? 2023, 2024, it could be there. It'd be interesting to see.